How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Hello and welcome to, or welcome back to Mystery Inc. My name is Richie. Today we've got a book review for you for the first book in the Fright Factory series that is Trapped in the Creepy Carnival. Okay, well, let's start with the blurb on the back. When Ethan Campbell and Olivia Hall sneak into a mysterious carnival that appears overnight, they expect a night of fun and excitement. But as they wander through the rides and attractions, they realize this is no ordinary carnival. Trapped by the owner, Ethan and Olivia find themselves at the mercy of the terrifying ringmaster. To escape, they must face challenges, each more horrifying than the last. In a creepy carnival where nothing is as it seems and danger lurks around every corner, can Ethan and Olivia outsmart the ringmaster and make it out alive? Or will they become permanent attractions in this carnival of nightmares? And then it says at the top, the funhouse isn't so fun when you can't find your way out. All right. Let me start out by saying that the story was, as far as the stories go, it was okay. I didn't like the beginning. I thought that the middle was good and the ending was good, and kind of the way it wrapped up was good. So we have Ethan and Olivia, they're friends. They discover that this carnival has come to town, and it's just been set up, and it's opening, like, I think the next day. And so they decide to sneak in that night at midnight to kind of check it out before they go with their friends. And so they arrive at the carnival, and for some reason everything's lit up. All the attractions are running. There's food in the food stalls, and all the games and stuff are there, but there doesn't appear to be anybody in the carnival at all. There's nobody working there, and there's no people at the place, but yet it's still all powered up and lit up and not shut down for the night. Just kind of the first issue that I had with the plot. Anyway, so they look around, they think about riding some of the rides, but they decide they don't want to do that because they're worried that they're going to get caught by the park staff and then thrown out or something. So they end up checking out the Hall of Mirrors, and they go in, and the door closes behind them, and it's locked, and they can't open it, so they decide to just proceed through and try to get to the exit. They spend a bunch of time in there. They come across a couple of mirrors that are really weird and creepy and show stuff that's not actually in the room, like some of their serious worst fears. And then they just kind of brush that off and move on. They end up breaking one of the mirrors and finding a secret passage where they go and they encounter this character by the name of Mr. Monocle. I should also say the carnival's MM's Carnival or something like that. So they think that he's the owner of the carnival. And he's this kind of like circus ringmaster kind of character, even though this is a carnival, not a circus. So that's, although, on the picture it kind of shows both. You got the circus tent there and then the Ferris wheel and stuff in the background. Anyway, he tells them that, they're trapped in this carnival and they can never leave unless they beat his 3 challenges or whatever. And, if they win, they can go home. If they lose, then they're going to be trapped there forever. So they decide that they're going to do it. They take on the challenge. They end up playing a game at the Midway kind of place. This balloon pop thing, and then these balloon toys that are are these creature toys, like a spider and I forget what the other one was. They were inside the balloon, turned into these giant, massive creatures that they have to defeat. And, they're not really fazed by this. I mean, obviously they're scared, but, they're not just oh my gosh, they're monsters. They're not just toys. Something supernatural is going on here. No, none of that. They're just oh, okay. They just seem to be totally fine with, what's going on. They're not at all surprised that there's something bizarre going on here. They end up defeating the monsters. I won't necessarily spoil why in case you want to read this book. But so then the second challenge is they have to basically do this Mario Kart ride through this swamp and graveyard place and stuff. And that's kind of where the story picked up and got a little bit more interesting in my opinion, because they're racing against Mr. Monocle, It's just the three of them racing, and there's actually some serious danger that Ethan gets in where he almost like gets attacked by an alligator in the swamp. Manages to escape, and even though he crashed his go-kart into the swamp, he somehow manages to pull it back out and back onto the track, even though it sounded like there was like a couple feet height difference between the track and the swamp. So I don't know how he, a 12-year-old kid lifted this giant, go-kart out of the swamp, but that was another minor issue that I had. Anyway, they go on, and after the race, then the final challenge was they have to go into this fun house. It's a carnival, circus fun house where there's like, the spinning tunnel, and they're being chased by this creepy clown thing, and I don't remember why they end up finding this key, and some other stuff happens. Anyway, they manage to navigate this place, defeat the clown, and get to the end where Mr. Monocle is waiting. And he asks if they found the key, which they did, which was like the secret thing they had to do to finish this challenge. And then Mr. Monocle starts to reveal these things that, that it wasn't really a challenge to let them go, that they can't leave, that it was more of like a test. And they completed the test by finding the key. And then we get another character that enters, who is actually the person, behind everything here running this carnival. And this person reveals himself and goes into this whole thing about, the key is magic and it can only be found by somebody that has magical talent, and this character is a magician of sorts and is like the person controlling all this and wants to keep Ethan, I guess kind of also Olivia, to be like permanent members, permanent attractions of the carnival. They decide they don't want to do that and end up having, a big confrontation fight with the villain at the end to escape. And I think that's where I'll leave that. Okay. The story, like I said, was decent. The setup was kind of rough, and the Hall of Horrors, Hall of Mirrors was kind of rough. But like I said, I enjoyed the thing with the go-kart race. I enjoyed the final challenge, and I enjoyed like the confrontation at the end. I thought that the story was good, but the book was written absolutely atrociously. When I read the Crow Files books that I've read so far, that I've complained a lot about there being a lot of typos and editing errors and stuff that were missed in those. This is another self-published author, and let me tell you, this book was edited worse than all of the Crow Files books combined that I've read. Like, well, Face in the Filter was pretty rough with the gender swapping cat, but that's another topic. It was so bad that I started keeping a tally of the number of pages, and I think I got up to, I think it was 15 pages that had some kind of an editing or grammatical error. Literally on page 1, we have a tone shift between, past tense, which is, what the story is being told in, and then for one paragraph it switches to present tense, and then it switches back. It does this a second time later in the book, which I don't think I actually notated. There are typos on page 33, 45, 48, 49, 54, 55, 57, 60, 90, 113, 115, and then on page 116 there are 2 full lines of text that are repeated in the next paragraph. Exactly the same 2 lines of text. And this isn't even commenting. There were a couple of issues where there were some like missing apostrophes, missing other punctuation. Whoever edited this, if this was edited at all, should have been fired immediately. If author E.D. Black, if you were the one that edited this, you need to do it again. And I don't even know if this is the original version of the book, because it was released in 2024 from what I remember seeing on Amazon. This copy was printed on September 13th of 2025. I obviously bought this quite recently. I don't know if there's a newer version that has been properly edited. But if so, this is still the one that's being sold on Amazon, and it was bad. Like this was so bad. I got to that, those last couple pages, and honestly, I want to return the book on Amazon. This was terrible. The quality of the editing and everything was just absolutely abysmal, which is really sad because I enjoyed the story. I liked the concept. I enjoyed the story. It just it's not even really okay for there to be a couple of errors, but with these self-published books, I've kind of, come to the conclusion that there's just going to be some of those because they're not going to be caught as well as like a professionally published book with professional editors, but this number of problems, like, and this is just the stuff that I noticed. There could have been things that I missed too, because nobody's perfect, and I understand that, but this was so bad, so badly edited. Um, I would like to know if there's a newer version than this that has been corrected or not. But like, I'm almost afraid to read the second book because if there's as many issues as there were in here, like I'm gonna be legitimately pissed off. Um, like I spent $10 on this book, and it, uh, yeah, yeah. So let's just go into the star rankings here. I could harp on the editing thing all day, but I'm just not going to. Okay. Here's the star rankings for you. Characters. I give this a 2 out of 5 stars for the characters. I liked the two villain characters. I thought that they were written pretty well. I thought that Ethan and Olivia were pretty stupid. Like, they made a lot of really dumb decisions. Their personalities seemed to change. Like, they would say, I don't remember exactly how things were phrased, but, checking out the carnival was Ethan's idea. But then he gets there, like, and then he and Olivia are talking, and he's like, maybe this really such a good idea? And then she's like, no, we need to check this out, even though she was the one that was maybe less excited or more hesitant at first, like just a couple of pages earlier, like stuff like that. And then, like I said, they're unrealistic reactions, like to going from perfectly normal life to giant monsters growing out of these toys that were inside of balloons all of a sudden, like no reaction in a realistic manner. I mean, obviously they were scared for their lives and whatever, but nothing being like, what is happening? What are these things? How is this? How is this real right now? Um, just stuff like that. Again, I've probably been a bit harsh on some of these ratings, mostly because of how irritated I am about the editing stuff. But yeah, 2 star on characters there for me. Atmosphere in the book was pretty good, but I ended up knocking it down a bit for all the editing stuff because there were several moments, like a lot of the typos and stuff were fairly easy for me to just be like, okay, that's a typo, keep moving. But a couple of those, like the repeated lines and like the shift in present and past tense and stuff like that, just like completely took me out of the story. Um, yeah. The plot was fairly good. I didn't give it, 5 stars because I thought, again, like I said, the setup wasn't the greatest. Like, they should have immediately thought that there was something weird about this carnival being on and open and stuff when there was no one around. Um, just like the setup in the beginning part of the book really was where it fell down a bit for me. Maybe I've been a little bit harsh here. It might have deserved a 4 star on plot. The twist, there really wasn't much of a twist. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Nothing that really even kind of shocked me or like, yeah, I guessed who the real villain was actually going to be pretty early on as soon as like something came up in the story, which I'm not going to spoil, but um, yeah, like I said, everything pretty much once we got to the go-karts, the story was pretty good from there on to the end. Pacing and intrigue, yeah, the book was paced fine. There was just really nothing intriguing about the story. Like, I I wasn't really invested in the backstory or what was going on here. Just it was mostly just like okay, let's go through the story and just get to the end of it here. Um, I guess maybe I did want to know a little bit more about Mr. Monocle and stuff like that, but nothing like that really stood out to me. Um, and then yeah, enjoyment. I only gave this half a star, and which is really really sad because, like I said, I liked the story overall, but by the time I got to like I don't even know page 60 or something, I had yeah, like I had come across so many errors, like it was just so irritating that it just like tanked my enjoyment of the book. If things had been edited correctly and my only issues were with kind of the setup and the plot, this would have been easily a 4 star on enjoyment for me. But all of that just irked me so badly. Like I couldn't give it anything more. I seriously considered giving it 0 stars on enjoyment because of that. But I did like the story. I just wish it had been properly edited. So that gave me an overall score of 2.1 out of 5, which is still relatively high. I think it's higher than I rated Return to Horrorland. And like I said, the plot was definitely better than Return to Horrorland, but at least that book didn't have any typos. So that gives an overall score of 2 stars, and this is the only book I've read from the series so far. I'm going to try to read either the second or the third book. And if I come across anything in those that are, if the editing is as bad in those, I may just return all these books. Like this one, I'm seriously considering returning regardless. I mean, even my collector brain is like, I don't even necessarily want to keep this on the shelf. It was edited so badly. If there's a revised edition that comes out in the future where the stuff is corrected, I may pick up a new copy of it. But this should never have been released to the public in this state. Personal opinion. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Have you read this? Are you familiar with the series? And have you read any other books? Yeah, I'm going to get into reading maybe the second or the third book. I've got like another week and a half until I meet the deadline to make any returns on Amazon. So I want to get through those and see if they're worth keeping or not. But let me know your thoughts. ED Black, if you're out there, if you want to get in touch with me, let me know. Is there a revised version of this book? Has anybody even brought these errors to your attention? Are you aware of this? Yeah, I really apologize for how negative this is coming across, but I just really, really was irritated running into all of these editing issues. This was like reading a first draft. Like this is what I would expect someone to hand me and be like, "Hey, can you read this over, see what it looks like? I need before I make edits and then release the book." Like it. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Next book we're going to read and review for the channel that is not part of this series. Probably going to be a Goosebumps book. Not really sure yet. I know I've still got Hardy Boys Tower Treasure original text to read over, and I think that was the last thing that was on my reading list at the moment. Then I've got a couple Crow Files books left to read. I got a whole stack of Goosebumps back there and a bunch of other books. Got another newer middle grade series I picked up the first couple books in. I only bought the first 2 this time because I want to actually check them out before I decide if I want to buy the whole series. After this experience and after facing the filter, but although with the Crow Files, I'm really glad that I read the other books because all of those have been much better than the first one. So I'm really hoping that will be the case with these as well. There's 2 more books, and then the 4th one is not yet out to the public yet. So wish me luck. Anyway, sorry to be so negative today, but I gotta be honest. Don't want to bash on the author, but when you release a product like this, you gotta be prepared for it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you, and we will see you in the next video. Have a nice day.